Hello. Good morning. Good morning, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's audible.
Oh, okay. Fine. Just a second. Okay. Sorry for the delay, guys. Actually, my health is not good. So because a few people are requesting, so that's why I have connected. All right. So yeah. Do you guys remember our last class? What we have discussed? I think in last class, Manoj, Arihant, Muntaz, you were there, right, in the last class?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you guys remember, right, what we have discussed? Manoj, are you there? Okay, even today you are in office, Manoj. Still you are taking. All right. Okay. So guys, basically, actually, I'm unwell. Okay. Because it will be very long gap if Friday also we did not connect. Right, and even if I don't connect today and tomorrow, it will be long gap. So that's why I have connected. It will be very short session. Okay, so from Monday onwards we'll be having daily class, right? So we are planning to finish this course within 40 to 45 days, right? So today it will be very short class. I need to take rest, right? If you guys don't mind, we'll have a short class, and then from Monday we're gonna have regular class. Clear?
Okay, sir.
All right, so let me share my screen. Okay, so in our last class, we started one of our important service, right? What was that? It is Elastic Compute Cloud, right? So what do you mean by Elastic Compute Cloud, guys? Anyone can answer what is this? Why do we use it? What is the purpose of it?
This is the endpoint resource where we from this server resource we can use. I can connect. I can use for database. I can connect with any services. For this.
Yeah. So EC2 is nothing but, yeah, correct. Whatever you said is pretty much correct. So EC2 is nothing but our virtual server. Okay, that's it. So that we can run our application, we can do anything. So in our server, right? So EC2 is our virtual server. So for all our project application to run, we need this EC2.
जो भी इंस्ट्रूमेंट बज रहे हैं उनको बहुत अच्छे से एनालाइज करके आप इजीली उसको टर्न ऑफ टर्न ऑन कर सकते हो। अब अगर
Saurav, please, can you mute yourself? Saurav. Yeah, thank you. All right, so EC2, so I'll just give you an overview of it. Okay, yesterday's class. So we discussed about EC2. So it is a virtual server, all right. And then we talked about some of the important features of it. So what are those? We talked about different families, right? So what are the different families we have? We have general purpose, compute optimized, memory optimized, storage optimized, GPU, and HPC. Can anyone give example of this? So I have given already real time. Right, in real time, how can you use all these things? When can we use general purpose? For what purpose? Okay, all right, guys, if you guys don't concentrate on the previous class, then it is really, you cannot focus anything on in the future coming classes. It is all interlinked, all the classes in AWS. Okay. So general purpose is the example for just on demand, okay, for testing purpose, for learning purpose. So compute optimized, like our Flipkart application, right, our Amazon. So those kind of day-to-day applications, they'll use compute optimized. Memory optimized, something like a gaming, online gaming, they need high memory, right? The storage optimized, if they are focused on more storage, high storage capacity. GPU, like video editing, online media, YouTube's, right, they focus on that's the example. It's not like mandatory YouTube using GPU only. Okay, I'm giving you real-time example so that it would be easier for you to remember, right? HPC, so big data, Hadoop application, they go with HPC, right? So if they ask in interview, what are the different families or instance types, you can say this. All right. So this is the reference diagram which I have showed. T, if you see, as soon as you see this T means tiny, right? M means micro, that is general purpose. All right. So then we talked about security group. So what is security group? Can anyone try?
It's a
That's the
stateful.
kind of firewalls which we are mapping with the virtual machines,
Very
virtual
good.
firewalls.
Yes, good. Security group is just nothing but, if you see here, it's just nothing but virtual firewall. Okay. So what do you mean by firewall? Okay, it monitor all the incoming and outgoing traffic. Okay, so whatever traffic you give permission, only that it will allow to your instance. If you don't allow some particular traffic, it will not allow. You can block, you can whitelist your IPs. Okay, you can blacklist your IPs. So whatever you want, you can do it then. So it's a virtual firewall for your instance. That's it. Just remember. So one of the most important thing, what you need to remember in security group, it is a stateful. Okay, please remember this word. Security group is stateful. Whether you are taking exam or in the interview, this question is a must. Okay, or security group is a stateful. What do you mean by stateful? Means only we need to allow inbound rule. Once if we allow any inbound rule, automatically outbound rules will be allowed. Okay, inbound and outbound both will be allowed. That is why we call it as stateful. And then we discussed about few inbound rules, how to give inbound rules. I have shown in demo as well. If you guys have not watched it, I request you to go and watch my second video. This is the third live class, right? So watch our second live class. I have shown you the inbound rules, how to give. Okay. So these are by default, it will be denied. Okay. Security group. So by default, it will be denied. We have to specifically go and allow it. Remember, we can only allow rules. You cannot deny it. All right. So that's it about security group. And then we talked about public IP, private IP, and elastic IP. What do you mean by elastic IP, guys? Can anyone? Manoj? Manoj, you should speak. Manoj, you are there in every class. You know better than everyone. Manoj, who were there in the last class? Can anyone?
Yes,
Kind of
we
static
can-
IP, right? Public static IP which we are configuring for the machines, I believe.
Static IP. Half.
Elastic IP is like that where I want to reach the public. So static IP is responsible to route our traffic to the public.
Yeah, correct. So what Gajanan said is correct. So what public IP is dynamic. Okay, so in EC2, as I've shown in the console, right? So our public IP is dynamic. So whenever we start and stop the EC2 instance, our public IP will go. In order to make our public IP static, we use elastic IP. So how elastic IP gonna charge us? How they'll charge? Is it free? That also I've explained.
No, it's not free. It's chargeable.
For purchasing it is free. We need to assign that in instances. Otherwise, it will be chargeable.
Yes, it's correct. Okay, so if you don't use it, then it would be chargeable. Okay, that is what elastic IP, right? So elastic IP remains attached even if you stop the instance. Okay, it will be there. You have to manually detach it. So as long as you have attached, okay, to your EC2 instance, you will not charge anything. It is free. Okay, if you have not charged to EC2, okay, simply you're keeping in your bucket. Okay, then you are charged. Okay, remember this point. They might cross question you in the interview. You are charged for elastic IP when you are not using it. Okay, so if you're not using it, you have to explicitly release it. I've already shown how to release, how to take elastic IP in my previous class. Okay, all right. So yeah, so we pretty much we discussed about it. Yeah, so this is our console, guys. If anyone has joined new to this class, okay, this is our console, right? Even if you're joined to your company, even in the companies, they'll use the same console. Okay, they'll give you the different username, right? So whatever you practice, same thing you will get it in the job as well. Okay, this is how your console looks. But here we will type EC2. AWS has designed in such a way so that it is very easy to learn. So whoever starting their journey in cloud, I always suggest them to start in AWS. Then Azure and GCP would be very easy for you guys. If you see this console, it is same like one of our Amazon website, right? So everything is, readable, understandable. If you don't understand anything, also they've given information section. You can self-read it. That's the beauty of AWS. All right. So this is our console. Click on EC2. So whenever we want to launch EC2, here we need to go, right? Instances. Okay. Now I don't have any instance. So if you want to launch instance, what do we need to do? We need to go and click and launch. Okay. So till now we have covered in our first two sessions. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go deep dive. As I told you in my first class, these are the most used services in real time. So most used services, we will go deep dive. We have to go one more layer down and we're gonna teach you, right, something unique. You should be knowing everything. Okay. So what instance type, okay. If they ask in interview, what kind of different type of EC2 instance, you can answer. What do you mean by T2? What does T stands for? You should be able to say it, right? So next, what we're gonna talk is security group. Also, we have covered, right? Security group, you guys know. Now we're gonna talk something about. So here in the advanced detail, what do we have? We have something called placement group. Can you guys see it here? Placement group. So if you see here, we have different, we'll get different type of placement group if you click. So what are those placement groups? Let me talk about it today. Okay. What do you mean by placement group is just nothing but grouping of your EC2 instance. Okay. So now this is only one EC2. Let's say in companies, you will be having 100 EC2s. Okay. 500 EC2s. Okay. You might require, okay, as per you might want to group it. Okay. Why do you need to group? Okay. So what is the purpose of grouping EC2 and what are the different types of grouping? And what would be the effect of it? That's what this placement group tells. So in the placement group, we have three different grouping. If you see here, cluster group, spread, and partition. So what are these? Why AWS has given these three? So we'll go deep dive. Okay. So first thing, what do you mean by cluster? So cluster placement group is nothing but if you can you see the diagram here? So all this EC2 will be placed in only one single rack. Do you guys know what do you mean by rack?
Where hardware will be installed or where it will be mounted.
Correct. Everyone are aware of it, right, guys? Is anyone fresher here? Others, please speak up. Arjun, Harish, Manish, and Muntaz, Muzammil, Siju. Everyone are aware of it? Racks?
Yeah, we are aware.
Yes, we are aware of it.
Yes, we are aware.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So this is how pretty much looks, right? So in the data center, racks will be like this. If you see the diagram, okay. So these are the racks, okay. So our EC2 will be stored in a single rack. That's what here they're saying. In the cluster placement group, same rack. Okay, so all your EC2 will be placed in a single rack. Why? To get very low latency and very high speed. If you put in cluster placement, what happens? Your application will run 2x, 3x faster. This they will use most of the for big data application, right? Hadoop application, they'll go with cluster. But what is the disadvantage? If your rack goes, if anything problem happens to any one of this, entire EC2 will get affected, right? Entire other EC2. If anything happens to this rack, your entire application will go down. That's the disadvantage of cluster. But if you want high speed, very low latency, very high speed, then we'll go with the cluster placement. Same way, we have something called spread. So what do you mean by spread? It's everything is in the diagram, guys. Just focus on the diagram. Okay, don't focus on the explanation. You guys will get confused. Focus on the diagram. What do you mean by spread? So in the spread placement group, instances are spread across distinct underlying hardware racks. Okay, ensuring that they are isolated from each other to provide higher levels of fault tolerance. So here, same rack. Okay, if you see here, same rack, but what they use, they will deploy in different availability zones as well. Okay, they will not place like this closely. They'll not place. Suppose let's say you have 50 EC2. They will not place 50 EC2 like this here. What they'll do, one they'll play 5, they'll place here, 5 they'll place here, 5 they. So they should not be closely packed. Okay, only to avoid internal collide. Okay, they will put it in different groups. Okay, so again in this, what is the disadvantage? If anything happens to this rack, okay, there might be a chance of losing your other EC2 instance. Okay, even though they are not closely packed, but if anything happens to rack, again you might lose it. So AWS has come up with one more thing. What is that? That is partition placement. So if you see here, they have separate partitions. Okay, in a partition placement, instances are placed in a separate partition. That means, let's say you have 50 EC2. In this rack, they'll keep 5. In another rack, they'll keep 5. In the another rack, they'll keep 5. All right, same project, but they'll keep in another rack, so that there's a 0% chance of losing your data. But you have to compromise with latency. Latency will be a bit slow. All right, so based on your requirement, AWS has given the 3 options. So what are these options? Cluster. When do we go for cluster? Let's say if you want high, even if you are ready to lose the data, but your application to run fast, go with a cluster. Okay, you want to maintain, okay, we want to be in middle. Okay, you're ready to compromise a little bit in latency and little bit in data, right? You can go with spread placement. If you don't want to compromise in losing the data, you're ready to compromise in latency. But if you don't want to compromise in losing data, then we go for partition. Okay, so this is about
What is the difference between separate spread placement and partial placement?
So that's what in spread placement in the same rack, they will distribute. If you see here now.
It's same rack distribute and
Yeah,
partial
in the cluster, what happens?
different rack.
Yeah. In the cluster, all placed one above the other. If you go for cluster, In the spread, they will not place like this. They'll give some gaps, right? They'll give some gaps,
Right,
okay,
right,
so that they're not closely packed in spread. But in partition, completely they'll put in other racks. Racks will be different.
right. Thank you, thank you.
Yeah. So these are the three different groups, guys. Okay. If they ask, okay, in interview, please explain them. So where you can see, so even if they ask, okay, where you can configure it, just click on launch instance, come down here in the advanced details. Okay, in the advanced section, we have partition group. Right. So here we can select whichever the partitions we want. Any doubt here, guys? Placement group is there. Okay, you can go here.
Generally in production, which option we are selecting in the real environment?
So in the production, it depends on your application, right?
Mhm.
So what kind of application you're using? Are you using the big data, IoT, right? Or you're using commercial applications? If it's a small application, they always
Is-
want to save the cost.
Is there any billing difference based on the placement group?
Yeah, I think cluster is the costlier one because you will get very low latency, high speed internet. So you only big data Hadoop application, they'll use cluster. So it's a bit costlier one because latency is very low. No, end user will get proper response. In these and all, you might expect some low latency. So cluster is a bit costlier. So it depends on your project requirement, how they want, what client says. Only thing as a cloud engineer, if they give you, okay, in the SAT document, okay, if they ask you to install EC2, they'll give you an option that, okay, select spread placement group. You should be knowing what is spread. Okay, where do I need to select? Now you guys know it, right? All right. So then one more important thing is the tenancy model, guys. Okay, so we have something called tenancy model. If you see here, okay, so we have three different tenancy models. Darshan, can you mute it, please? Can you mute yours? All right, so we have something called tenancy model. If you see here, shared, dedicated, and dedicated host. Okay, so what is that tenancy model? Why do we use it? If you see here, right, so these are three. So shared tenancy is by default. What they are using is single host machine can have instance from multiple customers. That means, right? So here, this in this rack, you have your host machines, right? Your host will be there. I mean, in the physical data center. If you select Linux EC2, Ubuntu EC2, whatever you select, what they will do, they will share your this rack with other customers as well. So this EC2 might belong to your project. This EC2 might belong to another project. This EC2 might belong. So this is everything shared. That is why you're getting it for lesser cost. That's it. That is what the shared tenancy means. Single host machine can have instance from multiple customers. All right. So if you want dedicated instance, that means virtualized instance on a hardware dedicated to one customer. So what they will do, this entire, okay, let's say this, not this entire rack. I'm saying this entire one single host. So in one single host, they can have multiple EC2 guys. Okay. Even though it looks very small, but in real time, they have huge EC2 instance running in one single host. So what they're saying, if you select, right, if you don't want to share your tenancy, okay, if you don't want to share it with any of your people, okay, you can go with EC2 dedicated instance, but this will be a little bit costlier than this. Shared tenancy is free. By default, it is free. If you go with dedicated instance, we will give you one single host completely for you so that no other user will be there here. That's the guarantee AWS is providing. Only you will be there. All right. So then what do you mean by dedicated host? So if you go with dedicated host, this entire rack will belongs to you. So you will even get the physical, okay, whatever the wiring connections they have done, okay, whatever they're using, entire thing will comes to you. So why AWS is giving that option? Why they're giving means, so there are some critical project in real time. Let's say our banking. Okay, so our banking project, and cryptocurrencies, crypto applications, and our stock exchange. Those are very critical. Okay, so they do their data center, or in their whatever the data they're storing in, they don't want to share with anyone. So if you want this entire rack under in your project, okay, under your name, you can go with dedicated host. And remember, this is the costlier one, wherein you will get physical servers are dedicated to one customer only, and you will have visibility into your hardware. Please mention this word if you are attending interview. Okay, we'll have a visibility to the hardware of the underlying host. This is the main advantage of dedicated host. All right. So which customer in real time? As I told you, banking, cryptocurrency, stock exchange, those kind of people, they will go with a dedicated host. They don't want to share anything with anyone. P1 data, they'll call it as the data classification is there. So in that very high critical data, they'll go with dedicated host. This is the costlier one, guys. Okay, in the tenancy model, you have that. Okay, dedicated instance or dedicated host. So if you see here, additional charges may apply, it is showing. Any doubt in tenancy and placement group, guys?
Sorry to interrupt you. So in all the condition or in all the scenarios, we are getting the access to all the hardware devices, right? Whether it is tenancy or dedicated. Because in the first scenario, we will be have a virtually instances installed on one device, right? Like
on one host, on one hosting. This is a hosting service, right? Host machines. So if you launch one EC2, can you see here? I don't. I'll zoom it and show you. So this is one host. Okay, so one hosting. So you guys know what is a host, right? So here multiple EC2 will be running, not only yours. Okay, if you are going with a shared, if you go with a shared one, okay, if you go with a shared one, multiple EC2 will be running, not only yours. Okay, you will be having neighbors also here, the other customers.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, dedicated instance means this entire host will come under you, but you will not get this entire rack. Only this host you will get. If you want this entire rack, then we'll go with a dedicated host. Is it clear, guys?
Yep.
Okay, okay. Any doubt for others?
For the free tier account, we can choose all these options, right? Any chance to get?
Free tier, you can do anything you want.
Okay, so the end of our lab, we have to remove that also. So as a
Oh yeah. So it's in the free tier, you can do whatever you want. Again, the charges will apply. Okay, you have to pay for it. So as soon as you do something, okay, as soon as you do, please try to do the cleanup. Okay, that I'll show you. Right now I'm not well, so only because you guys, it will be very long gap. That's why I have connected today, or else I am not in a position to connect. Okay, still we have lot to cover in EC2. Okay, there's an important topic called the networking and key pairs. Okay, these are very interesting topic. After that, we will do one demo, complete demo. All right. So then you will be knowing what is complete about EC2.
And you'll be sharing the slides, right, for us for the reference?
Yeah, I'll be sharing. So once the regular class starts, this is still in free session, right?
No,
once
free session over, right? It's a paid session.
I think from Monday we'll start the regular class.
Okay,
right?
okay.
So all this is not regular, right?
Okay, got
it. We did not connect one day in between all the gaps. So from Monday, you will be having a regular class. So as soon as I cover one service, I'll be sharing you the slides, the notes, particular notes.
It's really good actually, this for the reference.
Yeah, the reference, it will be good. And then weekends. So whenever random weekends, not every weekend, in the random weekends, we can have a game day. Right. I'll be giving you scenarios. You can launch services in front of me so that we can clear all our doubts.
Okay, good. Great. Thanks.
Yeah. All right, guys, due to, as I told you, I'm not well. That's why we are closing this call soon. So everyone understood, right? Any doubt, guys? Others? Manoj, Darshan.
Yeah, Adil, actually I joined little bit late, so maybe all the things
Yeah,
are
right.
clear, but I'll go through the recording once again.
Yeah. Go through the recording from Monday onwards. If you're joining for the regular class from Monday, it will be regular. Please don't miss it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because again, it will be the flow will be gone. That's why. All right, guys. Then shall we connect on Monday?
Yeah, that's fine. You can wind up. No issue.
Yeah, we'll connect on Monday. While coming on Monday, please, if you're joining, if you're very serious about it, please at least read and come. You have recorded session, right? Just go through, read and come. So when I ask you about previous class question, okay, try to answer it. Okay.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay, fine. See you on Monday then. Bye, guys. Take care.